Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Help yourself, keep eating. So my name is Kimberly. I'm the dietitian at the Randolph Weis. I cover the New Jersey stores, but I have an office right in the store in Randolph. And today I'm going to be talking all about healthy eating on a budget. So these are some of the things I'm going to talk about. We're going to compare some prices of different items. We're going to look at unit price. We're going to talk about some different shopping tips and give you some budget-friendly recipe ideas. Sound good? Mm-hmm. All right. Any questions as we go? Let me know. So starting with comparing prices, and this stems from a lot of times I hear healthy eating is too expensive. So a lot of people think they can't pick nutritious foods because it just costs too much. So here are a few examples of more nutritious options. Perfect. Yep, looks good. Of more nutritious options that have barely any price difference. So these are all Weis brand, looking at regular versus whole wheat bread and regular versus whole wheat pasta. The whole wheat has more fiber in it, more vitamins, good for cholesterol, good for digestion, good for lots of things. And you can see that there's barely any price difference. So in the regular versus whole wheat bread, comparing the per ounce cost, it's just 2 cents per ounce difference, and then the pastas are the same price. So just to give you some examples of, it's not always more expensive to eat healthier. And there's definitely lots of healthy foods you can choose that are still affordable. Okay, another thing, looking at fruits and vegetables, and this is just comparing if you were to get a bag of something versus like one loose item. Because again, people feel like that fruits and vegetables are expensive, and they can be sometimes, but knowing what to look for and when to shop for things can help you get better prices. So in these examples, apples and potatoes, two things that last a really long time, so they're good to buy in bulk. Comparing the large bag price versus just picking up one is a lot cheaper to get the bag. Sorry. You're good. So to make sure everyone can hear me. So it's a lot cheaper per item when you get the bag of apples. You can see that it equals about 50 cents an apple, which is like half price if you were to just buy one apple on its own. Same thing with potatoes, not as big of a difference, but if you buy like a big bag of potatoes, it equals about 40 cents each. Versus if you were to just buy one on its own, it could be around 60 cents. So just to give you some more examples of how to find healthy foods for cheaper prices. We're going to get into the specifics of what things you can look for at Weis. So this is our low prices every day. If you see this tag, that's just the price all the time. Things go on sale, but our low prices program, that's just, it stays. So those are items that throughout the year they keep reducing more and more prices. Whenever you see that, that's a great way to know that you're getting the best price. And now let's talk about coupons. Lots of different ways to use coupons. Of course, if you have a paper coupon, I just gave you $5 off a $35 purchase, which is valid through the end of the year. Then those are great. Or you can look at e-coupons. So if you go on Weis Market's website and you click on e-coupons, this is what it looks like. It shows you a bunch of different things. When you're logged in to your Weis account, you clip it, and then when you click on it to clip it, when you're checking out, as long as you put in your rewards card number, it'll come off. So nice and easy way to save some money there is you can just go online, make sure you're logged in so it's connected to your account, select anything that you're going to use, and then when you're paying, maybe make a note of it so you remember like what you need to buy for each thing. But you just need to put your rewards card number and it'll take that off. Other things, you can always check brand websites. A lot of times just like a national brand will have a coupon on their website you can print out. So you can always look there. You can also use the Weis Markets app. Or if you're by a Weis, this one doesn't have a gas pump. Some of them have a gas pump, in Newton it does. Then there's little screens that show some deals too. Other things to talk about. Looking at our store circular, there are a bunch of circulars. So I brought an example of one. This is our natural living circular. We have some that are valid for a week, some that are valid for a month. So make sure you look at the top. It tells you how long it's valid for. And then we have 3-day sales on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So those are usually like really good prices just for a short amount of time. Things you can look for when you're looking at items that are on sale. Look for stock up items. So this one specifically, it was items to stock up on, but anything that's non-perishable, anything that lasts a really long time in the fridge or that you can freeze, great to stock up on when it's on sale. So that way you can get the best price, and just make sure you freeze it right away if you're freezing something fresh so that it stays as good as possible. So those are some things to look for in the circular. Always check how many items are required. It's really easy when you're looking at the price tag, which I know they're really tiny sometimes, but it'll say like must buy 2 if you have to buy 2 of something. If it doesn't say that, then, but it says like 2 for $1, it's just 50 cents each. As long as it doesn't say the must buy, then that's just the price of each thing. Okay, and I think this is one of our last things, Weis specific. So make sure you have a rewards card anywhere you shop, really. I love reward points. You get points for everything you spend, you get more points if you use the pharmacy, and you can redeem them for money off. If you have, we have like redemption periods. If you have points that are gonna expire, go to customer service and you can get a $5 off coupon for your next trip. It extends it by about 2 weeks. So you have to, I think it's like 200 points for a $5 off coupon, 300 I wanna say for a $10 off. But if you have a ton of points and you don't want any of the free items or any of the items that are on sale for that redemption round, because they change, go to customer service, get a coupon, and now you just expanded how long you can use it by 2 weeks. So, some examples of things that we have on our reward. So it always rotates. There's always big posters all around the front of the store so you know what's going on each time. One thing that we have a lot is you can get an 18-count Weis quality eggs for 99 cents with 100 points, so that's a great deal on eggs. And it's something that lasts a long time in the fridge, so it's something that's good to get a bigger container of if you're going to eat it. Around Mother's Day, we had free cupcakes or a bouquet, so there's always different free items related to the holiday. Coming up, there's grilling rewards, so there's like free baked beans and things like that, and discounts on grilling specific items. So always pay attention to those, stock up on things when you can, and take advantage of your reward points. It always says it on the bottom of your receipt so that you don't lose that. And then a couple general discounts we have. Every Tuesday, there's a senior discount day at Weis. This is for anyone ages 60 and older. You just need to sign up once, and then it's on your club card. You get 10% off any Weis store brand item every Tuesday. So you can go to customer service, they can do it at the register, you show your ID one time, and now every Tuesday that you shop, 10% off of all Weis brand items. So make sure you sign up for that if it's applicable. And then Thursday, same thing, but military discount. So if someone who's in the military, you show your military ID, and then you have that set on your rewards card number. All right, let's talk through some tips for grocery shopping to save money. The first thing is, of course, to make a list and try your best to stick to it. Prevent impulse purchases. Try not to shop when you're starving. Just to try to really plan out what you're actually going to eat so that you don't buy things that just look good in the moment and then you end up wasting them. I feel like the whole summary of shopping on a budget is the most wasted money is food that you throw out. So we want to make sure you're going to eat everything before it goes bad and that you're planning all your meals out so you make sure to use all the ingredients. So there's a few different ways that you can make a list, whatever works for you. Here I wanted to give you an example. If you wanted to plan dinner recipes, say, you could plan it by the day. You could do a week at a time, a few days at a time, whatever works for you, however often you're going grocery shopping. And then you can pick your dinner recipes. So I just said hamburgers, tacos, and then a sheet pan meal where you just put everything on a sheet pan. And then ingredients to buy. So working in order, if you were to plan to have hamburgers on Monday, you want to buy whole wheat buns, you want to get lean ground beef, some cheese, lettuce, tomato. Next day you want to have tacos, lean ground beef, lettuce, tomato. So now you're using some of those ingredients, so you're making sure that you're using them up because you're using them twice in a row. So that's something that this can help you plan out when you buy something, how many ways can you use it? And that way you're going to use the whole thing and not waste anything. And then moving on, another idea for a sheet pan meal, usually it's just some kind of protein, a potato and another vegetable, super easy. So it could be chicken, it could be fish, and you could buy them and then freeze whatever you're not using for chicken right away to make it last. So just some things to keep in mind for making a list. Always check what you have first. Try to keep your pantry and your fridge organized, which I know it gets very messy for me, but keep it organized so that it's always very easy to see what you have. And make sure you look before you make your shopping list. It sounds super simple, right? But I feel like a lot of times people buy, I know my husband buys things that we already have all the time. So you want to make sure that you look and see what you have first so that you're not buying duplicates and saving money that way. When you're making a list, you can break it down like this by day. You can break it down by meal if you want to plan a whole day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Or you could break it down by department, so where you're going to be shopping in the store. So if you plan your meals, and then you have like produce, meat, deli, frozen, center store, everything in the middle. And you can organize it that way to keep it really streamlined when you're shopping so that you're planning ahead and making sure that you get everything when you're in that department. And like I said, using ingredients in multiple ways is a great way to prevent waste. If you're looking for store brands, it's going to be really good quality but a lot cheaper. So just wanted to show all of these because there's a ton of different logos for Weis store brand. So this would be like on a senior discount day. Any of these would apply to the 10% off on Tuesdays. But these are all Weis brand. Weis quality on the left there is the one you're going to see most often. That's what a lot of our items are. Weis by Nature is the organic line, so that one is going to be a little bit more pricey, but it's still a store brand. So if you wanted to buy organic, then that would be a good way to do so, and maybe be a little bit cheaper than a national brand. And now let's compare some prices. So this is looking at store brand versus national brand. Prices always change. These prices were updated last in March, so they should be pretty accurate. So looking at different items, looking at store brand versus national brand, there are some huge differences. So the first one, whole grain bread, like I mentioned, has a lot of fiber, has a lot of vitamins, great to include if you enjoy it. A store brand price for a loaf of bread, $2.67. A national brand can be up to $6.99. So huge price difference when you can get just as a nutritious item for store brand. Yeah?
How does the store brand compare to the national brand?
I think it's just as good. A lot of times when you get things with store brand, they're made in the same place as the national brand. It's just a different label put on. So that's really common that a lot of times it's like exactly the same thing. But I think it might depend item to item and it might depend on your preference, but to me, they're pretty much equal.
Okay.
Yeah. Other things we're looking at, shredded cheddar cheese. And we're going to talk about some different sources of protein because one of the most expensive things when you're shopping can be protein, whether it's meat or seafood. So cheese and milk are good sources of protein as well. Looking at a bag of shredded cheddar cheese, store brand $2.39 and then national $3.99, so almost half as much. When you're buying cheese, things like that, just some healthy eating tips as we go. You can look for low fat. It'll still have all the protein, just a little bit less saturated fat. So that's something good to look for shredded cheese or any cheese. Canned black beans. Canned foods are great for saving money. They last so long, so you're not going to be wasting them. They're not going to be thrown out, and they're just really, really affordable. So beans are a great thing to just have, whether it's your protein for the meal or a side dish, rice and beans. It could be anything. Just great to have on hand whenever you need something. A can of Weis quality beans, 77 cents. National brand can be up to $1.39. So big difference there. And when you're looking at these canned beans, canned vegetables, look for no salt added, and that'll give you the best nutrition profile.
Kimberly, is there any difference between frozen vegetables versus canned vegetables?
Yeah, good question. So fresh, frozen, and canned are all good options. When you have frozen and canned, the fruit or the vegetable is fully ripened and then frozen or canned right away. So why that matters is because a fruit or a vegetable gets more nutrients when it's ripening, when it's connected to the vine, or it's in the ground, it's connected to the plant. That's when it's getting more nutrients. So when you have fresh, if it has to travel a long way, they have to pick it early. It's going to continue to ripen sometimes, but it's not going to get more nutrients. Versus frozen and canned, they're allowed to fully ripen, and then they preserve them right away with the freezing or canning. So can be great options for affordability, really good options. Frozen and canned, to me, there's kind of pros and cons. Sometimes the taste or the texture can be different. So it's about finding which ones you like in each way. Like canned corn to me is great, tastes really good. Frozen broccoli is something I use a lot, versus like frozen asparagus, I prefer fresh. So it's just really like which ones you prefer the taste and texture of, but nutritionally, they're all good choices. What you want to look at for canned and frozen is what's added to them. So for canned, they can be high in salt. So that's why you want to look for that no salt added. For canned fruit, it can be high in sugar if it is packed in like a heavy syrup or something. So you would want to look for fruit packed in water or packed in juice, and that will have less sugar added. And then frozen has the potential to be really high in sodium as well. So anyone watching their blood pressure, it's something to consider. When you're looking for frozen fruits and vegetables, it should be just the fruit or vegetable in the package. Like all it should be is broccoli, and then you know there's no salt added. If it's like pre-seasoned or pre-flavored, that's when it has the potential to be really high in salt. So just something to look at.
Okay. One more thing I wanted to ask you is,
Sure.
now I have to watch my salt intake. Now, does cheese have salt in it?
Yes. Yeah, good question. Certain ones are higher than others. Cottage cheese can be really high in salt. So it's just something to look at.
Do they have cheeses without salt?
I don't think so. Usually it's low fat versions of cheese, but there's not going to be like a low sodium version.
But is low fat better than, does it have like less salt?
The salt would be the same,
All right.
most
all right.
likely. Yeah. All right, so great questions, keep them coming. Some other price examples, looking at peanut butter, another great and really affordable protein source, and also that one has a lot of fat in it, but it's fat that's good for our heart, so we like that. Any fat in nuts or seeds. So peanut butter, looking at store brand for like a regular jar, $2.29, and you know that's something that's really calorie and nutrient dense, so you don't eat a ton at once, so it lasts you a really long time. Compared to national brand, $2.99. So big difference there. Eggs is a big one. I know the prices always change. So that's why you use those reward points and get those 18-count eggs. It is the best deal you'll get. But looking at just like store brand for a dozen, $2.29 compared to $3.39. With eggs, something to also consider is the different types, like brown eggs versus white, versus how the chickens were raised. You know, it changes the price. So it's really like deciding what matters to you when you buy them. But nutritionally, they're all going to be good choices. So. And then looking at deli turkey, deli meats, deli cheese, another thing to look for sodium at. So deli turkey and deli like chicken and things like that, you can usually find a reduced sodium option. And then ice cream, Weis brand ice cream is really good, and it's almost half the price as a national brand. So just to give you some examples there. Okay, looking at produce, I feel like meat and produce tend to be what people think of when they think of healthy food being expensive. And it certainly can be, but it's about knowing what to look for. So shopping in season, whatever fruits or vegetables are in season right now, that usually means there's more available. It maybe didn't have to travel as far, especially if it was local, so it gets cheaper. So buying things when they're in season, like when they would grow, the best in this area is a great way to save money. This is a little info about what's in season for June, a bunch of fruits and veg on there. And this is from Healthy Family Project. If you ever want to know what's in season, just Google what's in season, Healthy Family Project, and they have a sheet like this for every month, so it's really handy to figure out what is good to eat right then. Always check the weekly sales too, and those 3-day sales. I know with like strawberries, blueberries, we just had a really good 3-day sale, so that's something to look at for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If it's like a flash price for produce, can be a really good way to save some money. Always look at price per item versus per pound when you're comparing it. So it's going to vary depending on the item. Like a bell peppers per item, apples are going to be per pound. So always pay attention to what the price is per. So that way you're getting a good idea of what it actually costs. Pre-washed, pre-chopped is always going to be a little bit more expensive. So just something to keep in mind. But I like to say that with the caveat that if that's the only way you're going to eat fruits and vegetables versus if you buy, say you buy a bunch of whole bell peppers and they go bad and you throw them out. So now you just wasted that money. Versus if you buy that little tray of the pre-cut bell peppers, it's going to be more expensive than if you just buy the peppers yourself. But if that's the way that you're going to eat them, maybe it's worth it. So just something to keep in mind, like what way are you actually going to eat them and not waste the produce, because wasting it, like I said, that's the easiest way to waste money. So keeping in mind what you'll actually eat.
Kimberly,
And, yeah,
I have a friend who's always buys organic versus, a non-organic. What's your take on that?
yeah, good question. Organic is always gonna be more expensive. It's a lot harder to produce. Nutritionally, organic and regular conventional is the same. So looking at like the nutrition profile of an organic apple versus regular, it's gonna be the same. So it's really up to, it's a personal choice of if you want to avoid certain things that food is processed with, then organic is your option, but nutritionally, doesn't matter.
What about the pesticide content?
Yeah, so that's something that would be different, is what's used when the food is made and produced, is pesticides, different things. Things are still used in organic food, it's just different, it meets different standards. So that, if you wanted to avoid that, that would be the difference, yeah. All right, and we talked about fresh, frozen, canned, all good options for produce. Dried is good options as well. So all things to look for. So if you're buying like, we'll use corn as the example. Like it's coming into stores soon, it's always there in the summer, a really good price. It's gonna be the cheapest if you buy the whole thing in the husk versus if you buy it pre-prepped in any way, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. So in the summer, great time to buy fresh corn. Maybe in the winter, when we don't have that good of a fresh option, it's not in season, that's when canned or frozen would be a good option. So it's gonna be cheaper than the fresh at that time, and the quality will be really good. So that's an example of when to pick what to buy. Speaking of, comparing the price, so this is looking at green beans. So we have fresh green beans, frozen, canned, and you can see it just gets cheaper as you go. So fresh is 30 cents an ounce, frozen is 12 cents per ounce, and this is an example of it's just the vegetable. Like there's nothing else in the bag, in this bag of vegetables. So super easy, you can steam them in the bag if you want, very easy to cook that way. And then you have canned, which is 5 cents per ounce, so even cheaper, and canned is where I would say look for that no salt added, or you can rinse them off. So corn, beans, green beans, very easy to rinse off, and that cuts the sodium by about 40%, so a very easy way to cut the salt. If you have a regular can of something.
Question on the frozen string beans.
Mhm.
How do you make it crispy like fresh when it comes from frozen?
That's a good question. It's not gonna be the same. And that's a good example of like the texture would be different there. So if you want if you're eating green beans raw and you want that crisp texture, you're gonna want fresh. But if you were roasting them or you were steaming them and it was gonna get soft in the end anyway, then frozen would be just as good as fresh. So depending on how you want to eat them, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found that canned peas always, when you cook them, are very mushy,
Yeah.
and frozen peas, depending on how long you cook them, can be a little more firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect example. So whatever texture you're looking for, you know, you can pick based on that. Yeah, a lot of times I would say, like eating something raw, you're not really going to go with the frozen option. Because, I mean, you could thaw it out and eat it. Fruit, you could do that with frozen a little bit more, but frozen vegetables, you wouldn't really just like eat them or dip them in something. They're more for cooking that way. Okay, and then some other protein ideas, like I said, because this can be a really expensive way of, part of eating healthy is getting enough protein. So the traditional things, of course, beef, chicken, pork, all the meats that you love are good options, but just to give some more ideas. Eggs are a good option. Like I said, milk, cheese, Greek yogurt, those are gonna have a lot of protein in them. Tofu has a lot of protein in it. Soy milk or regular milk, if you're looking for milk with protein, those are your best options. Beans, like we talked about, any kind of nuts. So just to give some different options, so that way when you're looking for protein foods, having more options allows you a little bit more to like shop what's on sale, because you don't just need to get one thing.
Are all nuts good for you, or are there certain ones to eat more than?
Yeah, good question. I would say all nuts are good for you. They all have unsaturated fat, they all have protein. The amounts are gonna vary a little bit, so some things will have more protein than others. Usually when you look at a serving size for nuts, it goes by 1 ounce, which is like a 1/4 cup roughly. So just when you're comparing, the protein or fat can be a little bit different, but like walnuts have omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for your heart and brain. But they're all gonna have things that are good for you for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, buying in bulk, always a great way to save money. So times you wanna think about this is things that are gonna last either in the pantry or in the freezer usually, are your two friends for buying in bulk. Usually when you buy anything in a large quantity, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper per unit. So this is where you wanna compare the unit price, which we'll compare on the next one too. But just be sure you're gonna use anything before it goes bad. Like I said, anything you're gonna freeze it right away when it's fresh, so that way it preserves the best quality possible. To give you a couple examples here, we have old-fashioned oats and then chicken thighs. So looking at old-fashioned oats, great whole grain, you can use it for breakfast, you can use it for baking. If you look at an 18-ounce container, it's $1.97, it's 11 cents an ounce. If you get the really big one, 42 ounces, it's $3.37, so more appearing to be more, but it's really just 8 cents an ounce, so it's cheaper that way. And when you're looking at the price tag, you just look for that unit price. You don't have to do the math. And then chicken thighs is another example. If you're buying just like a smaller amount, it's gonna be $2.29 a pound, versus if you're buying a family pack of 3 pounds or more, then it's $1.49 a pound. So that's an example for that, and again, something you could freeze.
Question,
Mhm.
about the chicken pie.
Mhm.
When you freeze them, what is the best way to freeze them? Because sometimes they get freezable and you have to throw it away anyway.
Right. Yeah, and now you're wasting it that way. I would say in like a really good container that has a good seal. Like if you're putting it in a Ziploc bag and you're getting some freezer bag that way, then put it in a container. Beyond that, just make sure it's sealed really well and you get any air out when you're freezing it to help preserve it as best you can.
So the air is the clue, not to have any air in the package.
Like if you have a bag of something, I think it can affect it. So just get that out. Yeah. Any other tips for freezing things? Okay, so another example for unit price, looking at non-fat Greek yogurt, really high source of protein. If you're looking at the little individual container, which is 5.3 ounces, the unit price is 19 cents an ounce, so they're $1 each. Versus the big container is 32 ounces total, and it costs 12 cents an ounce, so a lot cheaper. So something like that is a good example. Some things like that though, if you're not gonna eat the whole thing and you just wanna get 2 little ones, then it might make sense to get the 2 little ones, but if you're going to eat the bigger amount, then that's when it makes sense. Some other things you can do to save money is to stretch your meals. So hopefully you guys like leftovers. That's a great way to save money, is cook once, eat twice, and things to just make things go a little bit further. So when we're looking at things with any type of ground meat in them, adding chopped mushrooms is a great way to expand it, or adding beans. So if you're making burgers, doing like half beans, half meat. Same thing with tacos. Or you could do mushrooms in it. So just a great way, now you're gonna have more, you're gonna make more, but you're using less of the more expensive product, the meat. So great way to stretch meals that way. Adding frozen and canned veggies to meals. A good example, I like to use cauliflower rice, which is just cauliflower that's chopped up really small. I don't use it in place of rice because I like regular rice too, but just as a way to add more veggies to a meal, like if you're making soup and you have a bag of frozen cauliflower rice, throw it in with the onions and celery and carrots, and now you just add like double the veggies without adding too much. It's gonna be cheap because it's a frozen bag. So that's a good example.
Which is better, brown rice or white rice?
So brown rice has a little more fiber in it, so if you're looking to increase your fiber, I would recommend brown rice. White rice can totally be included too, it's just gonna be lower in fiber, so get your fiber from somewhere else, you know?
Okay.
All right, cook once, eat twice, like I said, that way you're able to eat things and not let them go bad. And using ingredients multiple times, like we talked about in the meal planning. So when you're planning your shopping list, think of all the ways you can use an item, so that way you're using it up. All right, I'm gonna finish by looking at a few recipes here. These are all on our recipe bank, which is weismarkets.com/recipes. And these, we just priced out some recipes to show you some really cheap, healthy examples. Usually when we're looking at a budget-friendly meal, we're aiming for like under $5 a person per serving. These are a lot lower than that. So this one is mini turkey meatloaf. So it uses turkey, it uses bell pepper and onion, and for 4 people, it's only $2.33 a person. So it gets really cheap, especially if you compare it to like eating out or something, then the price difference is huge. When you make a recipe like this at home versus spending $20 on a meal out.
I've been reading where they say stay away from meat, a lot of meats, and stay with chicken and fish and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, so if you hear to like reduce red meat, everything can be included. If you like to eat red meat sometimes, chicken tends to be a lot leaner, so it'll have less fat to it, less saturated fat. Fish, on the other hand, has fat that's good for you, has fat that's good for your heart. So those are some reasons that like including more chicken and fish might be nutritionally a little bit better to cut that the saturated fat.
So tell me, why is meat so expensive? Tell me. Do you have an answer?
No.
Is it because the people can't get it to the suppliers or what?
I would say think about what goes into producing something. So when you think about like producing meat versus beans. Beans are a plant, so you need some water, you need soil, you need farmland. Meat, you need the animal, you need to feed the animal, you need to give it water. It takes a lot longer to produce that meat. So I would just think about like what's going into it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And same with like organic versus regular, because they're not using traditional pesticides and things like that, it's harder to produce organic fruits and vegetables and foods. It's harder to make like big amounts of it. So that's why it's more expensive. That's my take. I don't know if I have the ultimate answer. Okay, a couple more recipe ideas. This one is for an Italian chicken sausage pasta. So pasta is a really cheap, affordable grain, something good to stock up on if it goes on sale. You can swap to whole wheat to get more fiber. So this uses penne pasta, chicken sausage, spinach, Parmesan cheese. Those are the main ingredients, and it comes out to $2.83 a person. So there's a few other ingredients in these recipes, like pantry staples, but those are the main things, and you can see it's really affordable per portion. Do you have a question? Yeah. I mean, you can always have pasta as part of your meal. I would say tips for including pasta: try whole grain when you can, and kind of make it the side dish instead of the star of your meal, you know?
Pasta and shrimp.
It's a good combo.
And veggies.
Perfect, yeah. Couple other recipes. Slow cooker Tex-Mex pulled pork. So this one uses boneless pork tenderloin, a can of diced tomatoes. So again, you're gonna save money there by getting the can. A can of sweet corn, a can of black beans. And this is something like during the summer when corn is fresh and a better price, then you could totally swap the can for fresh. Black beans uses brown rice, another good pantry staple, and this one comes out to $2.54 a person. So some good examples. And with that, happy to answer some more questions, but just wanted to highlight our services. So I'm right in the Randolph store. I have an office in the store. If you ever want to meet with me for a consultation, if you want to walk around the store together and look at products and get my opinion, then happy to do that. So you can always reach out to me. My email address is on the handout there. So feel free to reach out. The Healthy Bites magazine I gave you is our free magazine. So in the Randolph store, it's usually right outside my office, which is in the front by pharmacy. Comes out every other month. There's a ton of good recipe ideas in there, so make sure you get that. I gave you guys all a coupon, and then I have that Natural Living Circular, which is an example of one of our circulars. This one is monthly, and it just has like more of a focus on nutritious items. Not to say like every single item in it is something I would recommend for everyone all the time, but it just has more of a focus. It has like a gluten-free section if someone's looking for that, a plant-based protein section. So brought that circular along with me just to show you some sales options on that focus. And with that, if you have any other questions, let me know, but thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.